Hare Krishna. I'll sing Jai Radha Madhav first. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Okay. Thank you, devotees, for joining today. So the verse we are going to discuss is first canto, chapter 13, and verse number 54. So I'll share my screen. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama-shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Okay, we'll recite the verse. Jitasano Jita Shvasah Pratyahृत षड इंद्रियः हरिभावनया द्वस्त रजः सत्व तमो मलः जितासनो जितश्वासः प्रत्याहृत षड इंद्रियः हरिभावनया द्वस्त रजः सत्व तमो मलः. One more time. जितासनो जितश्वासः प्रत्याहृत षड इंद्रियः हरिभावनया द्वस्त रजः सत्व तमो मलः. Would anyone else like to recite?
Prabhu.
Yes, thank you.
Jitasano jitashvasa pratyahृत षड इंद्रिय हरि भावनया ध्वस्त रज सत्व तमो मलः.
Thank you so much. Anyone else?
जितासनो जिताश्वासः प्रत्याहृतः षडिन्द्रियः हरिभावनया ध्वस्त रजः सत्त्व तमो मलः.
Thank you. Yeah, welcome back. Okay. So we'll go with this. Go forward. Synonyms. Jita asanaha, one who has controlled the sitting posture. Jita shvasaha, one who has controlled the breathing process. Pratyahrita, turning back. Shad, 6. Indriyaha, senses. Hari, the absolute personality of Godhead. Bhavanaya, absorbed in. Dvasta, conquered. Rajaha, passion. Sattva, goodness. Tamaha, ignorance. Malaha, contaminations. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. One who has controlled the sitting postures, the yogic asanas, and the breathing process can turn the senses toward the absolute personality of Godhead and thus become immune to the contaminations of the modes of material nature, namely mundane goodness, passion, and ignorance. Purport. The preliminary activities of the way of yoga are asana, pranayama, pratyahar, dhyan, dharan, etc. Maharaj Dhritarashtra was to attain success in those preliminary actions because he was seated in a sanctified place and was concentrating upon one objective, namely the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. Thus, all his senses were being engaged in the service of the Lord. This process directly helps the devotee to get freedom from the contaminations of the three modes of nature, material modes of nature. Even the highest mode, the material mode of goodness, is also a cause of material bondage, and what to speak of other qualities, namely passion and ignorance. Passion and ignorance increase the material propensities of hankering for material enjoyment, and a strong sense of lust provokes the accumulation of wealth and power. One who has conquered these two base mentalities and has raised himself to the platform of goodness, which is full of knowledge and morality, cannot also control the senses, um, namely the eyes, the tongue, the nose, the ear, and touch. But one who has surrendered himself unto the lotus feet of Lord Hari, as above mentioned, can transcend all influences of the modes of material nature and be fixed in the service of the Lord. The Bhakti Yoga process, therefore, directly applies the senses to the loving service of the Lord. This prohibits the performer from engaging in material activities. This process of turning the senses from material attachment to the loving transcendental service of the Lord is called pratyahara, and the very process is called pranayama, ultimately ending in samadhi, or absorption in pleasing the Supreme Lord Hari by all means. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनैश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay, I'll share my presentation slides. Just hold on for a second. Okay. Okay, so now you should just be able to see the slides. Okay. All right. So in the 13th chapter of Bhagavatam, currently it's titled The Dhritarashtra Quits Home, and where we are is that the Dhritarashtra, Gandhari and Vidurji, and they have all left, and Maharaj Yudhishthir was lamenting, and we have been discussing this chapter for nearly a year now. We are now getting close to the end. We are at verse 54-60 is the last verse. So Narada Muni, he shattered the lamentation of Maharaj Yudhishthir, and initially Maharaj Yudhishthir was completely devastated by the loss of not being able to find his uncles and aunt. And when Narada Muni entered the scene, he didn't initially give the answer right away. Where did they go? He started giving him knowledge, Atmagyan, destroying his ignorance in this pastime, ignorance that Maharaj Yudhishthir would be able to independently take care of his uncle and aunt. So Narada Muni shattered that ignorance, and then he presented where actually they have gone. So in the last week, His Grace Nartamalas Prabhu, he covered how Narada Muni revealed that Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, they headed to the southern section of Himalayan mountains. And now Narada Muni is now going to speak about how he is going to perform Ashtanga Yoga, and that is this particular verse, and how he is going to achieve impersonal liberation. Okay, so having said that, the topic that I would like to, the theme I want to focus right now is the position of mukti in bhakti. So I'm not going to speak about Dhritarashtra, but the how did he achieve mukti, and this particular concept of mukti, how is it applicable in the path of pure devotional service, and how as sadhakas we can understand this concept. So that's that's the main theme of this presentation. So the references for my presentation, it's mainly from His Grace Balram Shakti Prabhu. He gave a Bhagavatam class in October 2022. So based on this topic, so I've taken a lot of notes and inspirations from that, and a couple of his courses, Rediscovering Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, which is a course based on Bhakti Rasamritas in the Eastern Way, and another course, Self-Evaluation Tool in the Path of Bhakti, that's based on Madhurya Kadamari, and Sarada Varshini Bhagavad Gita, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, and one more course named Are You Sure Your Bhakti is Pure? So all these courses, they are free, they are available in the website called Bhakti Grantha Seva. Okay, so the $1,000,000 question right now is, how did Dhritarashtra achieve liberation? So if you see the life of Dhritarashtra, it's not a very pious life. Since beginning, he was envious towards his brother, and later, after his brother passed away, he was envious towards the children of his brother. Maharaj Pandu, the Pandavas, he was very much envious, and he supported his own sons, especially Duryodhan and Dushasan, and whatever they did, he was completely blind to whatever mistakes they were doing, and he just let all the bad things happen to the Pandavas, and did not care about any pious piety, the mode of goodness, nothing. He just lived a sinful life, and after the war he was still having that envious feeling towards Pandavas. He couldn't see them sit in the throne, and after having lost everything in the war, he just lived as as Vidurji puts it, like a dog in the house of his enemies. The enemies means the ones who have killed, who were the cause of destruction of his own family lineage. And towards the end, he was continuously living as a grahastha, not thinking about spiritual progress. And finally, he got the opportunity to meet Vidurji, and he got the opportunity to meet Vidurji, and he got liberation after that, after having taken up to Ashtanga Yoga process. So it's actually a slap in the face of all the devotees who are trying to perform pure devotional service, waking up in the morning, doing our sadhana, associating with devotees, and reading Shastra and performing pure devotional service. So how did such a sinful person as Dhritarashtra achieve liberation, that too at the very end of his life? Like, if we go in the later verses, it is said that within 5 days he was able to achieve liberation. So how did he do that? So that's what we are going to try to answer in this discussion. So basically, the system that Dhritarashtra he was falling under is the Varnashram system. In the previous chance I got to speak in this assembly, I spoke about how Varnashram system, it's a system designed to achieve liberation, and there are different sects to it, like the outermost, the center is the Shuddha Bhakti, that's the worship of Lord Vishnu, and outside that there are three different sections, which is Karma Mishra Bhakti, Yoga Mishra Bhakti, and the Jnana Mishra Bhakti. These are Pradhani Bhuta Bhaktis, meaning that Bhakti is Pradhan. It gets much more importance. And outside that is the Karma Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, and Jnana Yoga, where Bhakti is secondary, and performance of karma is primary, Ashtanga Yoga that becomes primary, Jnana Yoga that becomes primary, and Bhakti is just a secondary limb in these processes. And following these, the different branches of it, one can get liberation. So this is what Dhritarashtra was doing up until the very end of his life. He was in the Grahastha ashram, which falls under the Karma Yoga, and then he performed the Ashtanga Yoga, and he got liberation. So I wanted to talk more about this the gradual process of how one, the traditional varnashram system, how does one achieve liberation. Okay, so am going to show a chart which I presented in the last time also. So a jiva, they start in the material world eternally in the position of an this identity is that I want to be the enjoyer, I want to be the controller. And this is the false ego. As one approaches the the shastras for how to enjoy, what the shastras say is that follow varnashram system. So why do they say that? Because you don't want to enjoy independently without any limits. So basically the varnashram system kind of puts a smaller circle around the jiva, that okay, you are a brahmana, you are a kshatriya, you are a brahmachari, you are a grahastha, all that. So a person who, let's say that a brahmana brahmachari, so they have their own duties, prescribed duties that they have to perform, and by performing the prescribed duties they get some results, phala, and they enjoy these phala. So you are kind of limited to what is acceptable and what is not acceptable in this circle. And as one performs these and basically in the varnashram system, I mentioned that last time, there are three different kinds of duties: nitya karma, naimittika karma, and kamya karma. So kamya karma is like you need something, so you do some kind of a sacrifice or anything and then get it. That's kamya karma. Nitya karma, they are like sandhya, trikala sandhya vandana, 3 times you chant a mantra and all that. And naimittika karma, those are like periodic duties like shraddha ceremony, which don't once in a while you have to perform certain things. So as one performs these things according to one's varna and ashram, this is the stage of sakama karma yoga, where one enjoys through these varnashram duties. Okay, so that's what I said, nitya, naimittika, and kamya, and these are designed in a way for purification. So they brahmana brahmachari, they're performing these nitya, naimittika, and kami karma. What happens is slowly they get purified. That is how the system is designed for purification. And as one progresses, what one realizes is that all that I just perform something and I get the results, and I go up and down the universal ladder, sometimes swarga, sometimes in the bhuloka. So it just keeps on going. So where is the end? When one gets to this realization, they get to the stage of nishkama karma yoga, where one accepts the higher goal, which is liberation. Okay, then they start progressing towards that. At this point, at nishkama karma yoga, what happens is one stops doing kamya karma. Okay, so they don't. Nishkama means what? They don't have anything, any desire for something for themselves. Like there is no kama. That's the nishkama. So at this stage, just they perform nitya and naimittika karma, and at this stage, still anarthas are there. And as one performs this nishkama karma yoga, slowly the anarthas go away. And when one is completely purified of anarthas, then they take up to the stage of jnana yoga. Okay, so then one can go to ashtanga yoga stage. In Bhagavad Gita, we see this jnana yoga being described in chapter 3, 5, and ashtanga yoga is chapter 6, and then one achieves liberation. Actually, this particular yoga ladder, as it is said, is a path which is described in the commentary of Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan. This is the same yoga ladder that Srila Prabhupada also adopted in the commentary. Okay, so but there is one more commentary by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. It's on Bhagavad Gita. It's called Sarartha Varshini. There, the ladder is little different. Let's see how it is. So one starts again from the identity of enjoyer, controller. That's the false ego. Follows the Varnashram Dharma, goes to Sakama Karma Yoga, then goes to Nishkama Karma Yoga. But here Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes Nishkama Karma Yoga type 1. So what that means is they continue to do the Nitya Naimittika karma, and and they are getting purified. Okay, so here at this stage, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he splits the tree into 3 branches. One, Nishkama Karma Yoga type 2. He defines it as Grihastha Sannyas. What that means is one is staying in the Grihastha ashram, or performing Nishkama Karma Yoga externally, but internally they are cultivating jnana. at the platform of Gyan, internally, they are performing Nishkama Karma Yoga. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he defines this as Nishkama Karma Yoga, type 2. And the next one is Jnana Yoga, where again it's a similar thing as what Baldev Vidyabhushan commented. And then another option is Ashtanga Yoga. So in all three, there is actually the three combinations, which is Bhakti, Jnana, and Yoga. In all three of them. In certain sections, it's one is more predominant. For example, in the Nishkama Karma Yoga type 2, here the jnana is internal, that is predominant, and the jnana yoga, jnana is again predominant. In Ashtanga yoga, the yoga part is more predominant. In all of these cases, the bhakti element is always there, because without bhakti element there is no result, right? In any path, without bhakti, either as a primary limb or a secondary limb, there is no result for it. So in one of the Bhagavatam verses, it is said, tapasvino danapara yashasvino manasvino mantravida sumangala ksheman vindanti vina yad arpanam tasmai shubhadras shravase namo namaha. So basically, when if one does not offer the results to Lord Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whatever they do, either performing Ashtanga Yoga, Jnana Yoga, or Karma Yoga, anything, nothing works unless it is offered to Lord Hari. That's the most important process. So at this, when one goes from Nishkama Karma Yoga to any of these, one stops doing the Nitya Naimittika Karma. At Kami Karma is already gone, bye-bye, at the stage of going from Sakama Karma Yoga to Nishkama Karma Yoga, and going from Nishkama Karma Yoga and up, the rest of the Nitya Naimittika are also gone. So purely performs, that particular stage of prescribed duty, and they ultimately progress to liberation. Okay. All right. Okay. So now we saw that in the previous chart, I am saying the liberation achieved through this gradual process. It's almost all the time it is the impersonal liberation. It's thus Sayuja Mukti. So there are different types of liberation mentioned in Bhagavatam. It is Salokya Sarshti Samipya Sarupya Ekatvam Api Uta Diyamanam Na Grihananti Vina Mat Sevanam Janaha. So Salokya, that is living on the same planet as the Lord. Sarshti, that is having the same opulence as the Lord. Samipya, to be a personal associate of the Lord. Sarupya, that is having the same bodily features as the Lord, and Ekatvam, oneness. Okay, so here these are the different types of liberation, and Ekatvam, this is the Sayuja Mukti, also called as Sayuja Mukti. This is the usually what is achieved through the following the process of Varnashram Dharma, either through Nishkama Karma Yoga type 2 or Jnana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga. So this is the one which Dhritarashtra he achieved. So I want to now again go to another chart which may be a little bit confusing. Let me try my best to explain this in a more reasonable way. Generally, there is confusion in terms of what these different types of liberations are, which path goes to where. Those are not entirely clear. So I try to again take some refer some materials and get this chart created. So the previous yoga ladder that I showed, that is one single way of achieving the Sayuja Mukti. Okay, so we start with Sakama Karma Yoga, so which has karma and bhakti. Okay, this, as I said, bhakti element is always there in any path. There is without that there is no result. So when one from here, when karma part of the Sakama Karma Yoga matures, what happens is one goes to Nishkama Karma Yoga, that is the next gradual stage, and then there also the karma and bhakti are there. And from here, when the karma part again matures, it gets more distilled, then one goes to Jnana or Ashtanga Yoga. Here the karma is gone. Okay, so Nitya Naimittika and Kami Karma, everything is gone, and just Jnana and Bhakti are remaining. And as one progresses, the Jnana and Yoga path matures, what happens is they even go through the stage of Jnana Sannyas, where they leave the Jnana part also, and just Bhakti remains, and that is the stage of the Jivan Mukta. So then one achieves Sayuja Mukti. Okay, this is the path that we just saw. Okay, now let's see what happens if from the stage of Jnana Ashtanga, where Jnana and Bhakti are there, instead of Jnana getting mature, what happens if Bhakti becomes mature? So that takes one to Jnana Mishra Bhakti. That is, Jnana becomes secondary and Bhakti becomes primary limb. At that point, it becomes Jnana Mishra Bhakti. So whenever some in this description, when something ends with Bhakti, what that is, Bhakti becomes predominant. It becomes Pradhanibhuta Bhakti. Bhakti becomes predominant. Whenever there is something ending with Yoga, there Bhakti is just a secondary limb. It's not the primary limb. Okay. So again, here we have Jnana and Bhakti, but Bhakti takes the predominant step. And when from this point, if somebody continues in the path of Jnana and Jnana matures, then they reach Shantarati in Vaikuntha, where the Rati at the stage of, let's say, something like Bhav, it doesn't mature into Rasa. All they can do is just achieve Shantarati in one of the Vaikuntha planets. But if Bhakti matures, then one reaches Shuddha Bhakti stage. So this is one path. So from Jnana Ashtanga Yoga, one can go to Jnana Mishra Bhakti. From this stage, two branches. Jnana, if Jnana matures, Shantarati. When Bhakti matures, one goes to Shuddha Bhakti. And here purely just Bhakti element is remaining, nothing else. And from here, one achieves Prema by process, going through the Navada Bhakti process. But let's get back to this Nishkama Karma Yoga. Okay, again. We just saw what happens if the karma matures. What happens if Bhakti matures? One goes to Nishkama Karma Mishra Bhakti. At this stage, still there is tinge of karma and Bhakti becomes predominant. Again, it's ending with Bhakti. So it is Nishkama Karma Mishra Bhakti. Okay, karma becomes secondary, Bhakti becomes primary. So when one perfects this as is, what happens is one reaches Salokya Mukti, again in one of the Vaikuntha planets. So in my understanding, through this, the Salokya, Samipya, Sarupya, all of this falls under the same category. Now, we went through this path. If from Nishkama Karma Mishra Bhakti, if karma matures, then what happens is one reaches the stage of Jnana Mishra Bhakti, because one is still attached to the karma, and the natural progress to the next stage of Nishkama Karma is Jnana. So one goes to Jnana Mishra Bhakti and then two branches and goes to Prema or Shantarati. Or again, if Bhakti matures, what happens is one loses the karma part and goes to pure devotional service. Okay. So again, let's go back one more step and go to the very starting, Sakama Karma Yoga. We just saw what happens if just the karma part matures. What happens if Bhakti matures? One goes to Sakama Karma Mishra Bhakti. Karma becomes secondary and still in the mood of enjoying, but Bhakti starts maturing. And when Bhakti matures, one goes to Shuddha Bhakti. Actually, anytime the Bhakti part matures or Jnana part matures, or how that happens is through association, because without association there is no one doesn't naturally take up to bhakti, and one doesn't naturally progress in bhakti. That's through association of similar minded devotees one goes through different trajectories. Okay, so as one goes to Shuddha Bhakti, you can see that people come from different branches. And when I say Shuddha Bhakti, it's not like one step Shuddha Bhakti and then immediately they go to Prema. That's the next thing I'm going to talk about. But at this stage, no matter from where they come from, Krishna, he yoga kshemam vahami aham. Say, for example, coming from Jnana Mishra Bhakti or Jnana Yoga, one might have already gone through significant amount of anartha nivritti. So Krishna just takes it over, meaning that, okay, whatever you have achieved, I will carry it over. Now, continue in the path of Shuddha Bhakti and one achieves Prema. Okay. So, yeah, I know this is little, it might be confusing, but okay. Let's see how one goes from Shuddha Bhakti to Prema, which is from Madhurya Kadamani. So you might all know it. His Holiness Romapada Swami Maharaj, he had 2 times he has conducted lecture series on this Madhurya Kadamani. So basically, one starts from the point of enjoyer again. Through Vaishnava mercy, which is in the form of Satam Kripa and Mahat Seva. Satam Kripa, Mahat Seva are 2 different ways in which a jiva accumulates agyata bhaktiyomuki sukriti. So what that means is, without knowledge, one starts getting favorable impressions about pure devotional service. That is the sukriti. When somebody feels good about something related to bhakti or devotees, what Krishna does is he will start giving this bhakti onmukhi sukriti. And satam kripa is basically when a devotee goes and showers their mercy, by distributing books or prasad, or just by behaving nicely, by smiling. If somebody just feels that, oh, I I don't know what about these people, but I just kind of like it. So that act of a devotee, that's called satam kripa. And mahat seva is when somebody unknowingly does any service to a devotee, or Krishna. Devotees actually. So what happens is that it's a platform for accumulating agyata sukriti for that particular jiva. And when bhakti-onmukhi sukriti matures, what happens is one gets to the stage of adav shraddha. That is, one starts getting faith that in four different aspects, according to my understanding. One is Vaishnavas, first item. So one thinks that these Vaishnavas, I don't know what is it about them, but I like them. I feel like they are not here to cheat me. I have some kind of a favorability towards them. Okay, one starts getting faith in Vaishnavas. Second, one starts developing, faith in the 9 limbs of devotional service, the Navada Bhakti. That is, the Karma, Jnana, Yoga, all those. I think so. From what I have heard, that it doesn't seem to be necessary. Just Navada Bhakti is enough. Third, faith in the Parampara, because this Shraddha, the Bhakti seed, one received only through the one of the bona fide Vaishnava Sampradaya. So one needs to have faith in that particular parampara to be able to receive that particular seed of bhakti. And fourth, the process given by the acharyas in the parampara, that is the books written by the acharyas, one starts having faith that, okay, whatever these acharyas are saying, they are not here to cheat me. I have some faith in them. So that is the stage of Adav Shraddha. From here, at this stage, one starts actually the Uttama Bhakti. Okay. So then one starts, feels that, okay, at this stage, I think I need a guru. I need to surrender to a guru because I like this process. I don't know what it is. I want to learn more about it and I want to surrender to a guru. So then one goes to the stage of Bhajaneshu Spriha, where one hasn't started performing bhajan, devotional service. Just they have a desire that they want to perform devotional service. That is the stage of bhajaneshu spriha. And then one goes to actual bhajana kriya, where one performs the Navada Bhakti, and then anartha nivriti, where anarthas are removed. And in all these stages, the inertia of past false ego that still exists in the form of conditioning. Okay, this is where devotee fights between the conditioning and value system. They back and forth. One struggles and performs the devotional service, and as the anarthas in the form of lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, everything gets subsided to a significant degree, one reaches the stage of nishtha. Then from nishtha, one goes to ruchi, asakti, and finally bhava. That's the perfected stage, and one goes to prema. Okay, so this is the Shuddha Bhakti stage. So it is not always linear. Okay, what I mean is, depending on association, what Srila Prabhupada, our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, came to give is this particular path. But it requires that one associates with devotees, in the Sampradaya, performing pure devotional service and not anything else. So one can progress in this ladder. But in case there is some association with devotees from different paths, any one of these, one can get merged into either Nishkama Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Jnana Mishra Bhakti. It's like a back and forth. Just like how I said, when the Bhakti matures, one reaches Shuddha Bhakti from different paths. Similarly, when from here, it is depending on the association, it is always possible that one can go to any one of those previous things, and things branches out based on that. Okay, I hope what I just said, it's not too confusing. The reason why I spoke about all this is to just give a context on what the different types of mukti, liberation are, and how one achieves these different types of liberation. Okay, so now the next question is, how should a sadhaka feel about Dhritarashtra achieving mukti? How could such a sinful person as Dhritarashtra achieve mukti at the very end of his life. He did all sinful things. Towards the end, he performed Ashtanga Yoga, and then he achieved liberation, which seems like a very nice process. Why are we doing all this devotional service? Leaving so many things and performing pure devotional services. If such a thing exists, he was able to get it so easily. The truth is that such a mukti, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. We will see why that is the case. Let's first see what our acharyas say about mukti. Okay, this is Shri Shat Goswami Ashtakam, the verse 3. In this, I just want to focus on this final part, which is Kaivalya Nistarakav. Kaivalya Nistarakav. So here, the author of this song, he is saying that the 6 Goswamis, they save the living entities from the devouring mouth of liberation. Devouring mouth of liberation. Devouring mouth of what? Hell? No. Devouring mouth of a crocodile? No. Liberation. Devouring mouth of liberation. So why is that? This is how the acharyas feel, that liberation is like a something which just completely destroys a jiva. Why? Because the highest goal of life is achieving prema, or love of Godhead. That is the highest goal of our life. And what is the obstacle for that highest goal? Is the next best thing. Okay, it's just like India. In India, we have this top elite colleges called engineering colleges called Indian Institute of Technology. One who is burning their midnight oil and preparing for clearing entrance exam in those to get into those elite colleges. For them, the biggest obstacle is the next best thing. The next best college. Because if you start deviating your attention from achieving the best goal and start deviating into some other secondary things, then that's actually the biggest obstacle to the topmost goal. So this is what our acharyas are saying here, that these for the living entities, actually the mouth of liberation, it's a very big obstacle for achieving the topmost goal. Okay, so here we have about 20 minutes time, but let's see how much we can cover. So there is a discussion in the book Brihat Bhagavatam, in the 2nd volume, where Gopakumar's journey from the Bhauma Vrindavan all the way up to Golok Vrindavan, that is described. In this story, at one point, Gopakumar, he reaches Brahmalok and he becomes the interim Brahma. So Brahmaji, the actual Brahmaji, he took a break, and Gopakumar got to be Brahma for that particular period. And Gopakumar, he is still a cowherd boy at that point. He doesn't know much. He actually came to know about Brahmalok only when he reached Tapalok. There he heard about Brahmalok. He got a desire that he wanted to go to Brahmalok, and he just went. And Krishna's desire, he became the Brahma himself for a temporary period. So in this, suddenly there are personified Vedas in the Satyalok or Brahmalok, and in the assembly of Lord Mahapurush. So Supreme Personality of Godhead, he exists as Mahapurush in Satyalok. So in the assembly of Lord Mahapurush, there is a discussion going on between the personified Vedas, and Gopakumar was interested, and he eavesdropped, and the Vedas are actually praising a person who has achieved liberation. And where is he from? From Bulok. And Gopakumar was surprised. He was like, person from Bulok, you are all praising? Why is that the case? He said, he got liberation. This is the first time actually Gopakumar is hearing about liberation. He's like, liberation? What is that liberation? So then the Shastra, they start explaining, and while explaining, actually there is some sudden argument which came between the different personified Vedas. So then the Vedas, they kind of took 4 different groups. So the first group is Gunibhuta Shastras. These are, the Ashtanga Yoga, Jnana Yoga personified. They are all saying that liberation is achieved by Jnana, Gopakumar. And then the Pradhanibhuta Shastra, they are saying that actually liberation is achieved by Bhakti. What are you talking about? This is very easy to be achieved by Bhakti. And then the peripheral Shastras, secondary Shastras, they did not directly agree. They are just like And then hearing this, the Pradhanibhuta Shastras became very angry, and they started quoting verse after verse that, kya, what are you talking about, performing yoga, this, that. Just by chanting a mantra glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you can achieve liberation. Like this, they are quoting verse after verse. And then there is, so we saw three groups of personified Vedas. One is Gunibhuta, Pradhanibhuta, and the peripheral Shastras. And then there is a fourth group who are Gura Shastra. Gura is secret Shastra. They are just smiling and keeping quiet. Who are they? They are Shuddha Bhakti Shastras. They are like Gopal Tapani, Upanishad, Bhagavatam, and Satvata Tantras. They are all keeping quiet and they are just smiling. Why they are smiling is, first, they are just thinking that, these Vedas, they are supposed to be the the source of knowledge for all the people in the material world who show the right path. They themselves are confused whether jnana is best or ashtanga yoga is best, or they are arguing among themselves. And if we go and join this argument, we will be just glorifying this mukti as a big thing. So I don't want to do that. So for these two reasons, the Gura Shastra, they're just keeping quiet and they are just smiling. And then Gopakumar is noticing that this group, it looks like they know something. But anyway, the debate is going on, and it became a full-blown debate, and the Gura Shastras, they just closed their ears and they walked out, because the Gunibhuta Shastras, they started doubting that just by chanting a mantra you can achieve liberation, such a thing. Actually, those are artavad, they are offensive, because sometimes these yoga Shastras, they have to put down bhakti to glorify their own path. There is no other way. So because of that, they do that, and those are offensive. So the Gura Shastras, they walked out. So then Gopakumar, he approaches them and he asks them that these Gura Shastras, that why did you leave? Who are you? I feel like you know something. Please tell me. So these Gura Shastras said, see, we are Shuddha Bhakti Shastras. We talk about these things only to qualify people. I see the qualification in you. You have that pure devotional service. So I'm going to tell you the secret. So we may sometimes talk about liberation, but only to discourage people from pursuing it. We only condemn liberation. Hearing this, Gopakumar becomes very heartbroken, because he thought that, oh, there is something above Satyalok, and that is called liberation. You get so much happiness there, and now you are saying such a thing is not so good. Why? So Gopakumar becomes heartbroken. Then the Shuddha Bhakti Shastras, they say that sometimes we just glorify bhakti, glorify mukti, just to attract these mumukshus. Basically, they are the ones who have attraction towards mukti. Just for that, we glorify these things, that mukti, it is easily attained by bhakti, just for that reason. And we actually never recommend mukti, because there is no trace of real happiness in mukti. And finally, other than the joy of liberation itself, nothing can be more meaningfully compared to the joy of bhakti. Because for a materialistic person, the highest platform he can think for enjoying is actually Swarga, right? So beyond that, one cannot think. What can be more than Swarga? You get to go and enjoy whatever you want. But for a person who's this, who has desire for just getting liberated, for them, they cannot think beyond liberation itself, because for them, what can be more greater than not having to deal with this material world, not having to suffer in this material world? So for them, there is nothing more than that. That's why they cannot understand. They cannot understand the joy of bhakti. So at this point, the Shatras are saying that, see, there is nothing that can be compared meaningfully to the joy of bhakti in anything in the material world, other than just the liberation. Okay, that's the closest thing which comes to actually showing that how nice the joy of bhakti is. That's the reason why we just mention, and we only speak about the mukti being attained easily by bhakti, just to glorify bhakti by kaimutya nyaya. Kaimutya nyaya means what? That is, even by chanting the holy name in namabhas, that is, which is not the perfect way of chanting, at that stage also one can reach liberation. So what one should think, that wait a minute, if one can achieve liberation by just performing namabhas, imperfect performance of bhakti, then what can one achieve if I perform bhakti perfectly? So an intelligent person will naturally think about it. That's the reason why Bhakti Shastras, glorify liberation. That's the natural progression. So these are all the things that the Shastras are mentioning. Okay, so I have many verses, but we are running out of time, so I guess I'll skip it. Yeah. Okay, so here some of the proofs in these Shastras are mentioning are, in Bhagavatam, Parikshit Maharaj, he asked this question to Shukadeva Goswami that, oh Shukadeva Goswami, can you please tell me that what is the relation between Jiva and this body? How did this relation come? At what point did this relation come? For the answer to this, Shukadeva Goswami is telling in the 9th chapter, first verse, actually the question itself is wrong. There is no actual relation between the material body and the jiva. It is actually like a dreamer seeing his dream body. So that's the kind of relation. The whole concept of bondage itself is illusion. The material world is real, but the concept that we are actually related to the material world, it's actually illusion. So if bondage itself is really illusion, then what to speak about liberation? Like a liberation from bondage, it's also illusion, right? So like this, they present many arguments that presenting that this whole concept of liberation is actually, it has no value. One can always have this doubt in mind that jiva is very minute na. If the happiness one gets from self-realization that we are not this body, we are spirit soul, if that itself is so high, just imagine what will happen if we go to the Brahman, which is like full of bliss and everything. So at this point, the Shastras say that actually, what is your understanding of Brahman? So the Brahman you're talking about, that you are struggling so much by leaving everything, performing Ashtanga Yoga and everything, and you want to reach the impersonal Brahman. Actually, that doesn't have any qualities, right? It doesn't have any compassion. You performs, burn the midnight oil and struggle to reach that, but there is no compassion from the Brahman itself because there is no qualities. And you perform worship of that Brahman, but there is no attachment of the Brahman. You do or not, doesn't care. If it is a nirvikar, it doesn't have any real heart which melts when the worshipper is loving. There is nothing like that, and there are no attractive pastimes. So if it doesn't have any qualities, no attachment to the performer of the worship, and its heart doesn't melt, no attractive pastimes, then what is the tangible happiness do you expect from such a realization? So basically, the happiness of impersonal liberation is plain, isolated, vague, limited. Okay, so why? Because all the mental functions of a jiva who reaches the impersonal, the Brahmajyoti, actually ceases, because the entire material impression gets wiped out. All the senses, everything, one completely leaves it aside. In the second canto of Bhagavatam starting, there are descriptions of two ways of achieving the impersonal Brahmajyoti. One is Kramamukti, where one goes from one planet to another, enjoys, and as one progresses slowly, they leave that part of their material body and ultimately reaches the Brahmajyoti. That's called Archiradi Marg, like starting with the planet of Archi. That's the demigod of fire. He's the presiding deity. So that's the path, which one way of reaching the Brahmajyoti. Another way is Sadhya Mukti, which is like immediately you perform Shat Chakra Yoga and you push the the life air out through the top, and one achieves liberation. So both of them, their ultimate end is plain, vague, limited. There is no material impressions left, and there is no senses, nothing. One is as if they are in coma. That's the stage of happiness. It's as if you are in complete deep sleep, and if that's the state of happiness that one can realistically expect in impersonal liberation. Then on the contrary, Bhagavan, through the process of bhakti, is an ocean of all auspicious qualities. He has Bhakta Vatsalya. He's attached to his devotees. His heart transforms when somebody performs pure devotional service, devotional service to him. He is actually attracted by the devotional service of devotees, and he is filled with pastimes. There is so much to talk about Bhagavan, right? So therefore, the happiness that one can get from performing bhakti to Bhagavan is lot higher. Now imagine what will happen once one reaches Bhagavan. Like you are actually there in the spiritual world and you are serving him personally. How much happiness one can get. So that's the thing that as sadhakas we should focus on. So basically, the happiness that we can get in the spiritual world as servants of Lord Hari is, it has variety, because there is a perceiver. Bhagavan is a perceiver of our service, and perceived, we there is a perceiver and perceived, and perception and the perceiving tools. So all these are different components in the devotional service. So all of them, they give happiness to the perceiver and perceived. So that's why if one understands the rasa, or the spiritual happiness that exists, one will not have any desire to actually achieve any other type of liberation. So okay, all right, I'll try to go fast now. Okay, so this is one of the verses from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, where Srila Rupa Goswami is saying that the bliss of Brahman realization accumulated by samadhi, lasting for half of Brahma's life, cannot compare to one drop of the ocean of happiness of bhakti. That is, the life of Brahma is so long. It's like several trillions of years long, and the life of Brahma is divided into two sections, one prarartha, and anyway, that much long period, if somebody experienced the happiness of Brahman, that happiness is not even equal to one paramanu. That's the tiniest atom. Not that much small happiness of bhakti, that is not, that much is also not comparable. Because the impersonal happiness is nothing compared to actually the ocean of happiness that is in the bhakti. Okay. All right, I'll skip through all this. Okay, another argument is that if liberation is all that glorious, why is it offered to demons? If you see all the demons killed by Krishna, they are just getting impersonal liberation. And even those some of the demons like Putana and Paundrak Vasudev, they both got spiritual forms in spiritual world. But the acharyas say that even after getting those forms, all they have is just the happiness of Brahman realization. That's it. So basically, the demons get the Brahman happiness. So then, how much if such a liberation is given to demons, why should as devotees we should have any desire for those kind of liberation? So yeah, that's the point I want to emphasize. So therefore, the saintly devotees do not desire for mukti, because they attain the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Such attainment of lotus feet of Lord Krishna is only possible by Shuddha Bhakti, not even Pradhanibhuta Bhakti. As I mentioned in the beginning, the different types of Bhakti, Mukti, Salokya, Sashti, Samipya, all these things actually, you don't get to serve the lotus feet of Bhagavan directly, and that is only possible by Shuddha Bhakti. That is only, to experience the rasa, have a personal relation with the Lord, that is only possible by Shuddha Bhakti, without contamination of karma and jnana. So next I want to just briefly discuss about, is the desire for mukti good or bad in sadhaka? Because we all live in the material world. It's filled with miseries. As sadhakas, we go through many struggles in life. So sometimes we just feel that I just feel like all this thing ends. So having such a desire, I want to put it in quotes, desire, is it good or bad? So let's see what the acharyas say. So here, but Srila Rupa Goswami is saying, bhukti mukti स्पृहा यावत् पिशाची हृदि वर्तते तावत् भक्ति सुखस्यात्र कथम अभ्युदयो भवेत्. So here he is comparing bhukti, the desire for bhukti and mukti, as pishachi. Those are like witches. And this is the position of the desire for bhukti and mukti, because they obstruct bhakti. This is actually the famous verse that was edited by Srila Vallabhacharya. If you know the story, Vallabhacharya tried to correct the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu written by Srila Rupa Goswami, and then he met Jiva Goswami, and he explained that actually the mukti is not bad, but the desire for achieving that mukti is bad, because that abstracts bhakti. And Vallabhacharya was thoroughly impressed. He was like, the level of understanding that the Gaudiya Vaishnavas have is like beyond his imagination. So anyway, so the desire for bhukti or mukti is actually an obstacle to bhakti. So then there are different gradations in mukti spridha, that is desire for mukti. Like I said, the 4 different types of liberation: the salokya, sashti, samipya, sarupya. It is said that they are not so contradictory to bhakti. They are not so contradictory. Actually, they are not good for Shuddha Bhakti, but they are not directly contradictory to Bhakti. Why? Though these 4 are not extremely contradictory to Bhakti, they are contradictory to a small degree, since they are accomplished with some unfavorable attitude. There is some desire for enjoyment, that, okay, I want to leave all the suffering in the material world, I want to enjoy in the spiritual world. And that desire itself is not good for in the pure devotional service. Okay, so yeah, so there are the different types of liberation. It is split into 2 different categories. One is Sukha Aishwarya Uttara Mukti, and another one is Prema Seva Uttara Mukti. That is one desiring to serve the Lord. Another one is Sukha Aishwarya, that is just to enjoy the happiness of the Sukha and opulence of spiritual world. Those are the 2 different categories. And actual pure devotees, they do not have desire for neither of them. They do not desire, because for them either it is hell or any of the material planets. It doesn't matter. All they want is just association of devotees, and they just want to serve the Lord. So this is what here again, the devotees solely attached to the Lord, who relish the sweetness of prema, never accept the 5 types of liberation at all. So this is what Srila Rupa Goswami is saying. So in conclusion, even though desires, even though the devotees become liberated from samsara at the end, liberation is not their goal, never. As a sadhaka, it is actually an anartha. We should consider them as anarthas only, because these are not good for our ultimate goal, which is prema. So this desire, we should not keep it as our goal, but consider that, okay, at this stage I have this anartha, at some stage it will go away. So when will that go away? When will this anartha for desire for mukti will go away? Again, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there are 6 qualities of Uttama Bhakti which are described: Kleshagni, Shubhada, Moksha Lagtakrit, Sudarlava, Sandrananda Visheshatma, Shri Krishna, Akrishni Chesa. So here the Moksha Lagtakrit, that's the disregard for liberation. And when does that come? So the first 2 qualities, Kleshagni and Shubhada, they manifest in the stage of sadhana only. When one is perfecting the, when one reaches the perfection stage of bhav, that's when the moksha lagutakrit and sudalava, they both manifest. Then finally the rest manifests at the stage of prema. So one has to wait till the stage of bhav to actually experience complete disregard for liberation. Up until that stage, it is the anartha will always be there, and we just have to acknowledge it. Okay, there is this desire or whatever I feel, but that is actually an anartha, because I know that my goal is to reach the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, and I can serve him right now in this material world in the association of devotees. And that is what my Gurujana has said, and that's what I'm going to follow. So that way you are categorizing this particular feeling as anartha instead of keeping that as the goal. Okay. All right, so we are at 9 o'clock. I'll just touch upon this topic and then move away and then conclude this session. So like I said, as sadhakas, we experience so much suffering sometimes. Sometimes we just feel like it's too much. I just can't handle it. So how should, what is the appropriate response of a devotee? That how should we deal with these things? Because at that time one just feels like, I know everybody lives in material world, so we all know this feeling. So in the stage of in the face of life reversals, what should one do? who is the source of this suffering. So many devotees know this thing, that for a devotee, suffering comes because of two different things. One, Krishna personally orchestrates that suffering. Second, because of offenses. Okay, so when generally so one thinks that, oh, maybe I'm not the completely surrendered devotee, so Krishna doesn't personally put his hand in my life, and whatever is happening because it's my offenses only. Okay, if you have that understanding, that's okay. I just want to say that ye yatam mam prapatente, how much ever you are surrendering, Krishna, he takes over. Have this faith in Krishna. Second, at the stage of, if the suffering is happening because of offenses, what is the role of Krishna there? Have you thought about it? Because at that stage also, Krishna is only giving the suffering. Krishna is only saying that you have committed the offense, I would like you to take the right step and make the correction that way that you come closer to me. Because never in the life of a devotee, when one is under the realm of pure devotional service, does Krishna let one's prarabdha the karma to act on the devotee. Whatever is happening, even if it is the result of one's offenses, is still given by Krishna. So one should have that faith that whatever is happening is Krishna's orchestration, and he is expecting that I take the right step and move closer to him. So when one have that faith now, it even in the face of extreme reversals, we will still be attached to the lotus feet of Krishna. So one can always think that, okay, but how can Krishna do such a difficult situation he has put me in? How can a loving father do this thing? But we have all been through when we were small children. Didn't our father take over our TV? When during exam, did he not cut the cable TV and everything? So one can always feel that, I hate you, father. How can you do this to me? You have taken away my video game and everything. But actually, that is an expression of the love of the father, not actually his spite to torture the child. Actually, it's an expression of love. That is the similar thing that Krishna is doing here. He just wants us to come closer and closer, and these are different challenges he's putting so that we clear those exams and then get closer to him. Even in material world, to achieve success, let's say going and winning the Olympic gold medal, doesn't one go through so much suffering? And what are we talking about? Getting Olympic gold medal? No, we are talking about reaching Golok Vrindavan, the highest position for any jiva. And if we are having that in our as our desire, as our goal, then we can expect these things. Such situation is true for even material successes. So why shouldn't it not be in spiritual path? So, and what should be our response? Should we just tolerate? Is that what Krishna is saying? No, not really. Because you just don't have to be like, okay, I'm just going to get through this thing and be done with it. Not needed. You take live guidance from experienced devotees, and they give you how to respond to certain things. What is the right path of action? And in these kind of reversals, what is not acceptable response? That is, going to outside the realm of bhakti, which is pure devotional service, which is jnana and karma. If one goes to those as the means, then that is going outside the realm, and Krishna sees that, okay, if this is what you want, I guess that's the path, the different branches I showed. Then Krishna lets one go, because he doesn't want to make a person come towards him by force. Okay, so it's by our own love that we make progressive steps towards him to reach his lotus feet. All right, so this is the conclusion. Today we discussed about why is liberation considered insignificant in the pure devotional practice, and how should a practicing pure devotee deal with the desire for liberation, and what attitude to have towards all the material sufferings. So I hope you found this discussion useful, and please, if you have any questions, comments, please feel free to express. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
It's a wonderful class, absolutely beautiful class, very thoroughly prepared, nice thought flow. Very beautiful too. I love the initial part of what is the definition of what is the understanding of mukti in bhakti. That was very beautifully explained too. Thank you so much. I'm just remembering the same thing with this priha. The desire for mukti is bad. Mukti itself is not bad in the sense that it's the spiritual transcendental position. And those who attain liberation, they also have a high elevated stage. They don't fall down from there.
Yeah.
Because it mentioned Anavati Shabdat, right? So the Bush mentions that those who reach there doesn't come back. But yeah, the desire for is bad. This for devotees, and I think also we like the point was about attaining mukti. So I was thinking, so sitting in class, and the devotees are mentioning why is the different type of mukti not, I mean, it's not so contradictory to bhakti. Just mentioning that because if you get those mukti, but if you don't get with something very important, for example, the verse we quoted in Bhagavatam, we quoted, right? Vina mat sevanam jana. So if you see in translation, in Bhagavatam translation, that particular portion is not translated. And if you have carefully look at that particular verse, you see translation, you will say that, oh, this is devotee is not, even if I give my devotee does not desire this. That's only mentioned. But Vina Mat Sevanam Jana is not translated. It's into word to word is there, but not in translation.
Yeah.
So mukti is fine. If a devotee says, okay, Bhagavan says, I give you mukti, I'll give you salukya, samipya. Okay, wonderful. But what will I do there? Nothing much. Then I don't want. But if you say, okay, Vira Mat Sevanam, if my seva is not there, then I don't need a mukti. But if the seva is there, no problem. I would happily take it. So the main intent, the main focus is seva. And if seva entails the the acquirement of mukti, I mean, in the sense that Halukya, Sashti, Ramitya, I will take it. That is not contradictory. That is why it's a bit contradictory, because we can get all this four liberation without the seva also. Right?
Yeah.
So that is the import of the particular verse. We can get them without seva. So seva being the most important. So just thinking about that aspect of liberation, but seva being the most important aspect.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you so much, Prabhu. And Chakrita Thakur also mentioned that the reason Dhritarashtra was performing Ashtanga Yoga rather is because he was Hiraparad. So he was not eligible for Shuddhi Bhakti.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So that is, so he was already disqualified from that particular aspect, or not disqualified, I would say, unqualified. By repenting, he could have maybe attained the qualification, but he was unqualified, not disqualified, uh, for Shuddha Bhakti because of Aparadha to Bhagavad, like Pandavas.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you so much for the wonderful, it's beautiful presentation as always. Yes, amazing.
Yeah,
So
very,
much to
very
learn
beautiful
from you.
points you mentioned, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Yeah,
Mm.
so yeah, you mentioned without the seva part, yeah, when the mukti is there, the devotees doesn't desire, and yeah, it's a wonderful point I forgot to emphasize. And
Yeah.
second thing is that the Dhritarashtra didn't have, because of his offenses to the pure devotees, he doesn't, have the sukriti to reach pure devotional service. So yeah, whatever he was, I tried to find it. How was he able to achieve mukti so quickly? It's not mentioned so much by our acharyas, but I guess there is definitely mercy of Vidurji that is in place. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, yeah. The same thing goes, for example, Dhruv Maharaj, right? Depending on the determination, Dhruv Maharaj was about 6 months. He was to do
Yes.
something which would take thousands of years. It was determination,
Yeah, that's
right?
also Narada Muni's mercy, right? Yeah.
Exactly. But mercy is there. If you don't act upon the mercy,
Yes. Yes.
it's
Yes.
different. The Buddhists
Yes.
can give mercy, but if you say like, okay, fine, doesn't matter. So depend mercy and both again together, right? Or effort and mercy. This is another past time.
Yeah.
Both has to be there. So mercy by Vidurji was definitely there, but the Dhritarashtra should, because please imagine, right? Living in palace, having all the energies of life. Next day, start doing 3 times a bath in the cold, in the Ganga, near the Himalayas, just eating, drinking water. Out, I mean, doing overnight change is, unless you have very strong determination, you can't do it.
Yes,
It's impossible to do it. That shows his determination in that way. And as mentioned, one more thing was, how does living entities who attain Brahman liberation, right?
Hmm.
We see that they enjoy happiness, but how? How do they know? How do they? Because they don't have any senses, right? But how do they enjoy happiness because Brahma Sukha, right? What is enjoy happiness being in liberation? Because they're doing thing. So mentioned in Bhagavatam, there's so many things. So it's mentioned that they enjoy all this stuff through the limbs of Bhagwan. Well, they're in the body of Bhagwan, and so they eat in the sense they enjoy they feel that enjoyment. When Bhagwan eats something through the body of the limbs of Bhagwan, they feel it. They don't do it themselves. They can't do their body, spiritual body. So they enjoy whatever enjoyment they get is through the body of Bhagwan.
Okay. Okay.
The body is on the so the limbs of Bhagwan they get enjoyment. So that is how they get enjoyment. That they do so attain permanent liberation.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
well, thank you so much again, Prabhu. Wonderful class as always, Prabhu. It's such a pleasure to hear from you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay. If not, I think we'll conclude the session. Thank you so much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namah. Antakoti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Shri Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. We'll end the call now.
Yeah, so we have wonderful speakers today. We have Shyam Chandra Prabhu gracing us. He's the father of Arjun Sakha Prabhu and his case Amrinder Prabhu. He'll be coming to Portland to, and gracing us with for Sunday feast. Please to come. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
I can